What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It's me, Jello, and today's deck is unexpectedly one of my favorite standard format decks, and it is Peak Personage Stealth Rogue Shojodoji. So let's just get straight into the deck profile. First things first, we have our ride line, just the standard Shojodoji ride line, so the grade 0 being draw if you go second upon ride. The grade 1 and the grade 2 are really good at deck trimming in the early game and setting up your mid to late game combo pieces with their on ride abilities. Both are basically the same thing. The only difference is where stuff goes. So both of them are upon ride. You look at the top 5 cards of your deck, choose 2 cards with stealth in their name, put 1 into soul, and in the case of the grade 1, you would bind 1, and in the case of the grade 2, call the other. So you're deck trimming 4 cards that you know are not going to be triggers, and they help with setting up your first grade 3 Shojodoji turn, as well as giving you a bit of a potential early game offensive boost with the on-ride of the grade 2. And they also have the same second skill, which is act from bind zone. If you have a grade 1 or greater Vanguard with stealth in its card name, you can soul blast 1 and call it from your bind zone. And the grade 2 is the same thing, except instead of grade 1, it is if you have a grade 2 Vanguard with stealth in its card name, you can call him from the bind zone. And these two are really good at being able to recur themselves easily through the deck through the use of the grade 3. And straight into Peak Personage Stealth Rogue Shojodoji. First ability, Act. Once per turn, you find 2 cards with stealth in their name from your soul and choose 2 of your opponent's rearguard circles and bind all of the cards on those circles. You are not targeting the unit, you are targeting the circle. So it gets around some protections that the units have that your opponent might have on the field. And then at the end of the turn, those cards go back into your opponent's hand. So there are cards that bottom deck those cards instead, and we'll get into the choices there. But before that, we'll get into the second skill of the grade 3 Shojodoji, which is when it attacks a Vanguard, counterblast 1, put 2 rear guards into your soul, and choose 1 card from your bind zone and call it to rear. And if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, the called unit gets plus 10k. So the card that you usually call is a beefy unit and gives you a 4th attack and sort of acts as a blanket protection for specific combo pieces that you might have earlier on the field. That is our grade 3. And subsequently, the end of the ride deck. Next, we run the other 3 copies of the grade 3 Shojodoji. Of course, we want to be able to persona ride, so running the 4 copies altogether. Next, we're running 4 copies of Stealth Dragon Unprecedented. When this unit is placed on rear by a card's ability, if you have a Vanguard with Tamayura or Shojodoji in its card name, you can Soul Blast 1 to draw a card. Then its second ability is if 2 or more of your units were placed from rear into soul this turn, he gets plus 10k. So it's a 23k beater if you call it off of Shojodoji's skill, or if it's on the field after you activate Shojodoji's skill. And by itself, it could go up to 33 on a persona turn, or even 38 with another card that we have in the deck. That is unprecedented. And last, I do run 1 copy of Stealth Dragon Dual Wielder. It is an extra counterblast outlet, and sometimes I can't afford it, but I don't always have to use it. I usually only use this to fetch PGs that I might have to bind the grade 1 Shojodoji ride ability. And sometimes he can also pick up extra Persona Ride copies for you, because all you have to do is choose to not return something from your opponent's bind zone, and you can pick a stealth card from your bind zone as long as it's your Vanguard's grade or less. Pretty good utility card, not always used. Shojodoji does have a bit of an issue with playing off of multiple counterblasts per turn, but generally 1 counterblast a turn, you will be able to get the main line of play off for the deck. Still waiting on Stealth Dragon Ride on Kunai to get the countercharging, but that is something we'll just have to live with for now. Next, running 4 copies of Stealth Fiend Isasao. So this is actually a really good card as well. Utility, So on place, counterblast 1, check the top 5 cards of your deck for a stealth card and add it to your hand. And the second ability is when it is placed from rear into your soul. So if it is one of your soul charge targets for your grade 3 on attack ability, then you can bottom deck one of your opponent's bound cards, and your Vanguard also gets plus 5k. So a bit of support in the numbers department, and is also a pretty good outlet for Soul Blastable Soul in the deck. So pretty good card. Next, running 3 copies of Stealth Dragon Jakumetsu Arcs. It is a good beater, as well as a nice unit to have on the field before you Shojodoji grade 3 to rearguards into your soul, because it can pick off cards in your opponent's bind zone. So these two on the field, you're able to get both cards that you bind with your grade 3 Vanguard, and then after that you're just cycling from these into more game-ending units like Unprecedented. And the nice thing about Jakumetsu Arcs as well is that it also gets a power boost of 5k when it is placed from bind zone. So that's a plus that it has for it as well. And then last but not least, for grade 2s, running 2 copies of Stealth Dragon Tsukuyodachi. When this unit is put into Soul from deck or rear during your turn, you can bind it right away to Soul Charge 1, so you don't have to waste a slot off of your grade 3 Shojodoji to put this into the bind zone. As long as it moves from the deck off of one of the Shoujodojis or from here with one of the Shoujodojis, you are able to automatically put it into the bind zone and have it ready for when you activate grade 3. Soul Charge 1 is also nice, though it is a blind soul charge. A lot of the soul charging in this deck is very targeted, thanks to cards like Kagechika coming out, but I wouldn't worry too much about it. It's bound to happen. If you're not going to soul charge your trigger, then you're just going to draw it as your turn draw. So it's one or the other, really. I kid. Really good card to have because it does give you access to the potential 5th attack of Shojodoji. So these are the grade 2s. Next, we have the grade 1s. So first things first, we have the MVP of all the grade 1s in this deck. We have Stealth Rogue of Path of Chains, Kagechika. So on place, choose a card with stealth in its card name from your drop and put it into your soul. This card is so good at being able to recycle your resources back into the main flow of the grade 3 Shojodoji, which is rearguard, soul, bind, rearguard, soul, bind, rearguard, soul, bind, rearguard, soul, bind. When cards do get attacked, and they will, or retired, which they will in certain matchups, and they go to the drop zone, you kind of lose that flow. And Kagechika is really good at being able to put that flow back in. Or if you get Kagechikas early, then you can ditch your combo pieces to the drop zone, call the Kagechika right away, put it into your soul, and then be off on your way and call something from your bind zone and get Kagechika to go into your soul with its second skill, which is when something is placed from your bind zone. If you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Shojodoji in its card name, you put it into your soul from your guard and you draw a card. So again, it's a really good resource puller for Shojodoji. That is Kagechika. 4 copies because Soul Blastable Soul, again, is really, really important in the deck because of the recurring of the grade 1 and the grade 2 Shojodoji to give you extra units that you don't have to call from hand down per turn. Next, 3 copies of Static Crack. This card's really simple. I put this in as a tech because I can't afford Fork Tails, so I'm just going to leave it out for a while, and which is also a reason why I put so much more emphasis on Izasao, because Izasao is a less efficient version of Forktail, but still generally can get the job done in terms of toolboxing. And yeah, the Forktail prices are just not fun. So, but anyway, Static Crack is a very simple card. When another unit is placed in the same column as this unit during your turn, the unit that was placed gets an extra 5k. So if this card is just camping in your back row and your opponent has no way to interact with your field, this dragon can get you an extra 10k per lane overall power. I've just found it really good. It has helped my units still hit grade 3 Vanguards even after defensive trigger off of from my opponents, and even if they go from 15k guards to 5k guards, it still manages to make an impact in the game because I'm not giving up a lane in terms of power and still pressuring my opponent. Found this to be really, really helpful. Next, we run 2 Stealth Fiend Komaons. I run this literally because it is a stealth card. It is soul blastable soul, as well as something that I can just easily discard. I use it mainly for the name of stealth, just in case. And its ability is also pretty good. The only problem, again, is that it's another counterblast outlet. So when it's placed on rear from hand, counterblast 1, choose a card from your opponent's bind zone, and you may put that card at the bottom of your opponent's deck. If you did not put a card, you can choose up to 1 card with stealth in its card name, and grade less than or equal to your Vanguard from your bind zone and call it to rear. So it's, first off, it's on place from hand only, so it can't chain attacks as a combo piece off of the grade 3 Shojodoji, which kind of sucks. If it did, then it probably would be a triple R, and it would be a 4 of, even though it is another counterblast. But sadly, it isn't, so usually it's only during the main phase if you have an important piece in your bind zone that you want to bring out. And again, there are easier pieces that you can bring out. You have more resources to allocate to, which is the soul. And there are soul blastable souls. Komaon is a soul blastable soul. Kagechikas are a soul blastable soul. Izasaos are soul blastable souls. So when you are activating soul blasters in the deck, you know which cards you want to keep in the soul and which ones are okay. And last but not least, run 4 copies of Escort Stealth Dragon Hayashikaze. It is a searchable card with the grade 1 Shojodoji. You can put this straight into the bind zone, and then you can fetch it back with a dual wielder. And it's also searchable off of Izasao, which is really nice too, because who doesn't want PGs in their hand, right? Unless you're playing against Guard Restrict, right? And last but not least, we have the triggers. So I have been running 7 crit, 4 draw, and Dragonic. With Tsukuyodachi, you could justify going rainbow triggers and putting in fronts, and just maybe changing these 3 to fronts. I still like more draws in the deck. You do get a lot of draw off of the Kagechika, and you do get spot searches with Izasao as well, but those require other things to happen. Draw triggers are just, they're just draw triggers. So it's always really good to have the extra cards in hand just to be a little bit more defensive. And then, of course, Dragveda is 100 million and a restand. So you could set up a second Shojodoji on attack skill, since it isn't limited to once per turn. It just depends on how many counterblasts you have, which, again, is the main problem of this deck. The one card that I'm waiting for is Stealth Dragon Raidon Kunai. 2 abilities. First one, when your other unit is placed on rear from bind, you can bind this unit, and the unit that was called gets plus 5k. And if you didn't countercharge, or if you haven't countercharged already that turn, you can countercharge 1. So which is really helpful in the deck. Second, from bind zone, when your grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Shojodoji and his card name is attacked, you can call this unit to Guardian Circle. If you did, the unit gets plus 5k shield until the end of battle. So it's a 10k special intercept, I guess, from bind. Pretty cool, really good card. And then you can always put it back into your soul with Kagechika, and then put it up into the bind zone with your grade 3 Shojodoji, and you can call it back out and then have that whole process repeat. Is it the most ideal thing to do? Probably not, but it is a really good utility card, and say already really good survivability of Shojodoji. So that is it for this deck profile. I've had so much fun playing this deck. The next time that I do go to a BCS, I will be playing this for standard. I've had too much fun with it to not do that. And yeah, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Should I just suck it up and buy Forktails? I don't know, but so far the games have been really good. I'll link all the games that I posted that I played this deck in the description of this video for reference to the deck profile. The only difference in those videos and this is that I don't have Tsukuyodachi in that deck. One of the reasons why it took so long for me to make this deck profile was that I was waiting on the Tsukuyodachis to make the video so that I could have the final build of the deck. But check those out if you want to. Subscribe if you feel like it. Leave a like. And a comment, tell your friends if you think they'll like what we got going on the channel. And I'll see you guys in the next one.